This is a short educational video about centronuclear myopathy, and specifically about the different categories of centronuclear myopathies, and seeking to clear up some of the alphabet soup. When you're first learning or reading about centronuclear myopathies, well, myopathy is a muscle disorder, and centronuclear means that the nucleus of the muscle is right in the center of the cell, which is abnormal. So these are centronuclear myopathies, and even when you get past the name centronuclear myopathies, then there's a whole alphabet soup to learn about when people are tossing around terms like BIN1 and dynamin 2 and RYR1 and amphiphysin 2 and ryanodine receptor 1. It can really be something that may make you think you have no way to make sense of this at all, and hopefully this video will put this in a very organized and easy to follow way that you can make sense of what these terms are talking about. And the starting point to understand in a very simple way is that we know that within our genetic material, within our DNA, within our cells, there are genes. And genes, one of the most important things that they do is that they code for proteins. So there's a genetic code on our chromosomes within our DNA. There are genetic codes, and there's lots and lots of different genes, and different genes code for different proteins. And within the context of centronuclear myopathy, we're going to go through just organizing this of what gene is coding for what particular protein. So the longest known one is MTM1, which codes for a protein called myotubularin. Next is DNM2, which codes for a protein called dynamin. The next gene is RYR1, which codes for a protein called ryanodine receptor 1. The next gene is BIN1, which codes for a protein called amphiphysin 2. The next gene is called titin, which codes for a protein called titin. And then there are other genes that have not yet been identified that ongoing research is looking for other genes and proteins involved in causing centronuclear myopathy. So all of these different genes are located in different places within our genetic code and within humans. They're on different chromosomes. They're affecting, as shown here, different proteins, and those different proteins, each of those different proteins has a different function within the muscle cell. So obviously there's lots of different genes that could be affected, a genetic mutation within the gene that causes an abnormal or dysfunctional protein, and then that causes a muscle disorder with a centronuclear pattern on biopsy, and thus a centronuclear myopathy. So this table just really seeks to lay out the groundwork for understanding that, and it would be important if you're a patient or family member of a person affected by a centronuclear myopathy to understand, well, which of the subcategories are you in, because that will be very important for you to understand everything from the genetic patterns to differences when you're reading about the research and you're thinking, okay, is this related to the particular variant of centronuclear myopathy that's affecting your family, and those types of things become very important just to understand. Overall, my recommendations for patients and families would be, first and foremost, you really need to get the genetic testing. You should discuss that, of course, with your doctor. These videos are just educational, so all of this, of course, should be discussed with your treating physician or healthcare provider. But without the genetic testing, you have no way to really know which of these different categories of centronuclear myopathy you or your family fall within. So genetic testing, very, very important. Other things I would recommend certainly is networking with other patients and families, whether that's going and searching for centronuclear myopathy or your specific myopathies on Facebook, or in the U.S. here, the Joshua Fraze Foundation. In the UK, the Myotubular Trust and the Centronuclear Myopathy CNM Information Point, etc., are also fantastic groups. You want to network and meet up with and talk with and communicate with other patients and families, and you'll find that to be very, very helpful, both often psychologically, but also in terms of just learning more about what's going on with this condition. And along those lines, really, you want to educate yourself so that you're able to really be having as good an understanding as possible about what's going on and how it's affecting yourself or your patient or your family. And you want to support your researchers, and that can be done in a number of ways. Sometimes that's as simple as sending a copy of your medical records to one of the researchers. For a relatively uncommon condition like this, just realize that the researchers really are not able to advance the science unless they know, who has this condition, and unless they have, research to study, unless they have patients, people who've registered with them and have sent their records or their biopsy slides or their DNA sample. Without any of those things, the researchers would obviously have an empty lab with nothing on their desktop to be working on. And they'd move on to working on other conditions. So really, it's wise, as if you're a family member or a person affected by this, to register at the research sites, whether that's here in the United States, in the UK, in France, at multiple places. As long as you let them know if you're doing multiple sites. Also, there is a CMDIR, which is a congenital muscle disease international registry, which is an important project as well. And another way to support your researchers is, to raise funding. So as we send out our holiday letters, we often we'll put in an envelope where if people want to donate to researchers, that they can do so, or if you have relatives or friends who approach you and say, "Boy, what can I do to help with your child's myopathy or adult's myopathy?" You may say, "You know what? One thing you could do is, perhaps if you're giving philanthropic donations, you may want to keep your researchers in mind." So anyway, those would be my thoughts on just recommendations in general. And the main point, of course, for this overall was basically outlining the different genetic abnormalities that can cause protein abnormalities that can cause the centronuclear myopathies, and hopefully this table here puts it into a format that makes it relatively easy to understand and to start to make sense of the alphabet soup that is otherwise associated with this condition. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.